And though he is a bird, he won't fly. Though he lives in the sea, he won't swim. Mostly, he will walk. Emperor penguins are monogamous. Sort of. They mate with only one partner per year, which means every new season, all bets are off. Each day, the temperature drops a little further. The temperature is now 80 degrees below zero. Winter's first storm is upon them.
Okay, that was a bit over dramatic, but yeah. If you didn't know already, March of the Penguins is a documentary about emperor penguins marching to and from their breeding grounds just trying to stay alive. Initially released January 2005 to French theaters, it was released internationally 5 months later with that oh-so-juicy Morgan Freeman voiceover.
I'm God.
It even managed to win the Best Documentary Oscar the following year and is currently the 6th highest grossing documentary of all time. It used to be the 5th until that one movie with that one singer came out recently. I think her name was Audrey.
I wanted to be a part of the Lorax because I love the character. Oh, hi, Ted.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
Honestly, I think March of the Penguins' popularity was pretty well deserved. I'm no nature documentary connoisseur, but a large amount of the shots in this film seem like they'd be really hard to get, especially some of these underwater scenes. Like, how did your mom survive that when they dunked her in there with the camera? They used the pole. Nice. Beyond what makes this documentary good on its own, that's not why we're here today. As of me recording this is the only documentary to have its own fully licensed video game. There are some various documentary-based browser flash games here and there, but March of the Penguins is the only one to have a console-published, I guess, sort of AAA title. Now, this game is actually quite dog shit, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's literally just a Lemmings clone. Lemmings, for those of you who don't know, is a 1991 PC game that rose to fame at the time. The core gameplay just consists of altering the behavior of the lemmings to help them navigate through obstacles and environmental hazards. I'm sure you've seen some variation of this style of gameplay at some point, similar to that of an RTS or Civilization, where you're not controlling a character or object with a directional pad, rather controlling the environment, which then affects the characters. March of the Penguins wasn't even the first penguin-themed Lemmings clone. This game is literally called Pingus, and your lemmings here are just a bunch of Linuxes, or QQs? Or wait, is Club Penguin a knockoff of this? The Game Boy Advance version of March of the Penguins doesn't even have a save function, so you're left with the old-timey way of resuming your progress by remembering these specific button combinations for each level. There aren't even any credits, and this game came out a whole 14 years after the original Lemmings, mind you. Even though this is really the only example, I feel like it's not too hard to see why this is the only example of why documentary-based video games are in a bigger genre like fictional movie-based games. In fact, other than some major wars in world history, there aren't even many video games that strictly follow real events. And March of the Penguins isn't even a historical event, just a showcase of animal behavior, which honestly isn't the worst thing you could make a game out of. I feel like if this game were a 2D platformer, it would be playing it safer, you know, for marketing reasons, and would easily make for a more fun game overall. The DS and especially Game Boy Advance have a huge catalog of 2D platformers for a reason, because they're fun and easy to control on that small handheld console. Unlike a Lemmings type game where you have to move a tiny cursor back and forth across this small screen. The style of gameplay definitely works better on the DS since, you know, it has the whole touch screen sort of thing, but definitely not on the Game Boy. Though in all fairness, a video game based off March of the Penguins is not something anyone would really have any expectations for, which is why the game itself is very simple. This is also very common in movie-based games in general, as most of them have the same sort of similar thrown-together quality of them.
Hello, Harry, it's me, Hagrid.
You know, I wonder who made this game anyway, since there's no actual credits in the game itself. It looks like the developing company was Skyworks, which was dissolved 13 years ago. And it looks like the founders of Skyworks were Gary Kitchen and David Crane. And I wonder if I'd be able to reach out to them and ask them a little bit more about who developed this game and more behind it. I could only find Gary's email in his portfolio here, so I guess I could try shooting him an email and ask him if he knows anything about who developed this game. Oh my gosh, he responded fast, not even 10 hours later. Gary Kitchen forwarded your email to me. The game was primarily designed and programmed by myself and Bob Smith. The property was licensed by a third-party company who contracted with Skyworks to help develop the game. I remember very little about the project, and no one at Skyworks was involved with the licensing. P.S. The best source of game credits can be found at Moby Games. From David Crane. At the bottom of his email, David includes a link to a website with the full list of credits for the game. And sure enough, there he is, the only one listed under Game Design and Character Simulation, with Gary Kitchen listed as Executive Producer. Glancing at his Wikipedia page, yes, he has a Wikipedia page, David Crane is credited for being a programmer for the Atari 2600 and creating
Pitfall, designed by David Crane for Activision.
Definitely not someone who I'd expect to be the main developer behind March of the Penguins for the Game Boy Advance. While David answered my question about who developed the game, I'm still left wondering about some other details of this game's creation. My new burning question is, why is Luc Jacquet listed as the director for this game on the list of the game credits? He was the director for the film, so could that be why he's listed here? Or was he actually involved with the development of the game? The film's production company, Bon Pioche, is also mentioned in the game's credits as well, so I feel like this is a valid question. I did email back David with a few other questions, such as if they had always envisioned the game to be a Lemmings clone, and if it was the publisher's idea to create this game or someone else's. It has been over a month since I sent that email, and I've still gotten no response from David. I've sent him a follow-up email, but it seems most of these questions will still remain permanently unanswered. Out of patience and seeking answers, I booked a plane to France. No, not actually. I would if I was Nick Robinson or had money or anything, really. At this point, you're probably wondering why there's still this much time left in the video. Well, let me show you. Remember that video I showed earlier of behind-the-scenes footage of March of the Penguins? They used a poll. Nice. It's from a 55-minute featurette called Of Penguins and Men. It's composed of a lot of voiceover and shows presumably the director and a couple other filmmakers going through the harsh weather and filming the movie.
We acquire habits like that of putting on 6 layers of clothing at dawn, an undertaking that takes half an hour.
Except there's one problem. The director, Luc Jacquet, is not in this video at all.
This is Laurent. It's his first time on these high latitudes. I'm Jérôme. I'm moved to rediscover the atmosphere of these austral lands that I have visited before. After 6 days at sea, we fly over the Adelie coast and discover the Pointe Géologie archipelago, where we shall be living for a year.
Laurent disclosed that he was paid 500 euros a week for 52 weeks or 1 year of filming. Plugging this into an inflation calculator, it would be roughly 37,427 euros in 2024, which converts to 40,615 US dollars. That might sound like a lot for some people, myself included, but by comparison, this is within the range of the average teacher salary in the US. Many teachers don't get paid enough as is, but to spend over a year of your life completely isolated from your friends, family, and society in sub-zero temperatures to only get that much just seems really insulting. Adding on the fact that both Laurent and Chalet ended up almost losing their lives towards the end of the production.
This katabatic wind blowing at 90 miles per hour lowers the temperature to minus 60 degrees. We are just 1 kilometer from our base, but getting back there is a 6-hour nightmare in this white hell. It will require the intervention of an emergency team sent out from the base to tear us from the clutches of this white death. The doctor passes judgment. I have serious frostbite on my face and fingers of my right hand. Laurent only has superficial frostbite, but a fall has seriously damaged his knee.
They were given contracts that stated that they'd get higher royalties if the film did well, which it certainly did. But after the film's release in 2005, both Jerome and Laurent were allegedly forced by the producers to tear up their old contracts and sign new ones that did not give them these royalties. Laurent later said, "I had asked for proper recognition and remuneration when the film was in the cutting room, and no one knew it would be such a success." What I find amusing is that producers feel it is perfectly okay to ask you to make all kinds of sacrifices for them when they don't have any money, but when they get some, they get very upset if you claim back what you are entitled to, what they promised you originally. He then sued the production company Bon Pioche for not paying him what they had initially promised, and for not giving him and Jerome proper credit for the film that they most definitely deserved. They're just listed here under cinematography, even though they were pretty much the only two that filmed this entire movie, which really does seem like they deserved something more than just cinematography, like come on. Now, Jerome apparently did not want to press charges on this matter, seemingly because he was still working with Luc Jacquet on another film. Meanwhile, the faux director made this statement in an interview. "I still don't really understand why this lawsuit is happening. I think there's a lot of frustration. Laurent Chalet did really great work, but he seems to have forgotten there was another cinematographer on the movie, and he didn't even take him into account. My brother in Christ, Jerome, chose not to sue your company's sorry ass." If that's not bad enough, here's Luc's speech after winning the Oscar.
March of the Penguins, Luc Jacquet and Yves Barandeau.
It means thank you in penguins.
Don't let the penguin plushies fool you. He does not mention Laurent or Jerome and just thanks kids for watching the movie.
I'd like to dedicate this statuette to all the children in the world who saw that movie.
Okay. If that wasn't enough, Luc Jacquet has also allegedly stated that he went to Antarctica and did the filming himself, though I couldn't find a source backing that up. Even on his personal website, the section on March of the Penguins is worded very vaguely. Having fallen in love with Antarctica, Luc made several trips south of the Roaring Forties, spending a total of 3 years there. From those expeditions, his debut feature was born, March of the Penguins. While he did apparently briefly visit Antarctica twice during the production, this implies that, well, during his 2 short trips, the movie was just somehow conceived out of nowhere. Out of Luc's warm, yummy uterus did March the Penguins. Stabbing someone in the back in the name of money and fame is obviously no new concept, especially in the film industry. There's a reason actors, writers, editors, and now visual effects artists form unions, because this kind of thing happens all the time. I feel like this situation though is just a little bit more evil and heinous. Putting your whole life on hold, leaving your friends and family for 13 months to go to a frozen wasteland, adhering to a strict schedule, and barely escaping with your life, just to be discredited and cut out of the extra money you would have gotten is just gotta be the worst. I also reached out to both Laurent and Luc for any comments, but heard nothing back from either. Judging by Laurent's IMDb profile, he's still alive and doing what he loves to this day. And looking at Luc's is... wait. Is that March of the Penguins too?